Welcome back to part 2 of the Castlevania 3 Let's Play. And we are taking on the pirate ship in this part, and we'll get to some other levels too. Last time we managed to acquire Sypha as our partner, and we will actually get to see how the pirate system in this game works. The partner system. I got pirates on the brain apparently. I mean, pirates are pretty awesome. Not as awesome as ninjas, but you know, you'll take what you can get. Anyway, like I mentioned before, Sypha is kind of like Trevor in that she operates on the same basic Castlevania mechanics: stiff jump, knockback, and sub-weapons. But her sub-weapons work a little bit differently. She's mostly, like, really offensive oriented when it comes to her sub-weapons. Like, we got the fire, which shoots a straight jet of fire, and it does a lot of damage. But it's just one shot, but, Sypha can't get double or triple shots, so that is a knock against her. But, you know, she's still pretty useful. But that also means if you die, you don't have to worry about, trying to get her a double or triple shot back to max, like you do with Trevor. So, benefit to her. Also, if you die, you lose sub-weapons for both characters. This is only like a really big deal with Sypha, like, because Alucard can only have the stopwatch, and Grant can only have the stopwatch and the axe. And if you're playing the American version, the dagger. I'll explain that in a minute. But now we got the crystal, or not the lightning sub-weapon. Basically, the lightning sub-weapon, it doesn't look like lightning, it looks like lightning orbs, but yeah, I'll blame that on 8-bit technology, not being able to animate it properly. But anyway, they're, in my opinion, the best sub-weapon in the game for Sypha, and I think, period. There's really very few situations where it isn't, like, pretty much the best thing you can use at the moment. And we got more red skeletons to deal with. They're pretty easy, you know, and there's some meat if you need it. Another thing to keep in mind with Sypha, she has lower defense than Trevor does. So, like if an enemy would deal 4 damage to Trevor, Sypha takes like 5 damage, and so on and so forth. It's not a huge detriment, so you know, don't stress about it too much, but you know, the extra damage in some cases can add up. Anyway, like right here, I'm gonna demonstrate how to really use the lightning spell properly, because it homes in on enemies, and it's the only sub-weapon I think in any Castlevania game that has a homing property. Of course, you can only have one on the screen at a time, and if the orbs like decide to like spin around and stuff, it can take a while before you can launch another one, which can be kind of annoying, but you know, I think it's worth it. Anyway, you want to be careful in this section because it's easy to screw up. A lot easier than you think. And there's the ice book. I'm not going to be using it at all in this playthrough, but the ice book, basically it freezes enemies. So it's sort of like, I guess, a method of, like, I guess the RPG equivalent would be like crowd control. Basically, you freeze enemy, you can hit them once and insta-kill them. It doesn't work on bosses though, so if you're in a boss fight, it's pretty useless. Also, coming up right here in the candle to the left is a 1-up. I tried to show it off, but unfortunately, unless you're Alucard, you can't get the 1-up. And Alucard can't get on this path unless you're doing a second quest. And I'll explain more of that in a little bit, because we have a boss fight coming up. Meet Medusa. Just like almost every Castlevania game ever, Medusa is piss easy. Unless you're playing Castlevania Chronicles. God, that game was hard. But we're not playing Chronicles, so we don't have to worry about that. This level is actually kind of unique because it has multiple boss fights. I know Castlevania 4 had, I know it had one level with multiple boss fights. It was level 4, I think it was? Yeah, it was the Mausoleum level. Because it had the skeleton, like, the skull and the the golem. The same boss that had the annoying flashing lights whenever you hit them. Anyway, these guys, you want to watch out because they stab really fast, a lot faster than you think they do, and their range can surprise you, because I've been at points where I feel like, they're not going to hit me, and they catch them with the end of their rapier. At least I think that's a rapier. Yeah. No big deal. You can either use the cross, as I have, or the lightning spell. Either one works. If you didn't come here with Sypha, you're probably here with Grant instead, and I feel like you're more limited as far as sub-weapons go, because, you know, Grant has the dagger or the axe. And the axe isn't bad, but it's, like, not what I would use. Oh, and this section can be a little bit tricky. You want to stand on the middle of the platform, then jump at the edge, then jump there, because that's a very difficult jump to make, and you can easily... I've had a lot of runs screwed up there. I'll just put it that way. And you want to be careful here because there are birds, and these birds, the knockback can easily throw you into a bottomless pit. And I missed the triple shot there. Aww. Nah, not a big deal. Because we have the Thunder Spell. Like I mentioned in the first part, Castlevania 3 gives you a lot more options than Castlevania 1 did, and that's one thing I like about it a lot more, because it has more variety to it. So the game is harder, don't get me wrong, but I feel like, you know, with more options, the game expects more of the player, so it kind of evens out. Also, there's in case you're wondering, there's sort of like an equivalency chart with what sub-weapons Trevor would get and what Sypha would get. The dagger for Trevor becomes the fire spell. Also the axe is the fire spell. The holy water becomes the ice book, and the cross becomes the thunder spell. And as you're seeing here, the thunder spell can completely annihilate bosses. So just keep that in mind. Though I think if like a sub weapon appears on screen, you immediately switch out, it'll disappear, which is kind of lame, but oh well. But I don't like using the Thunder Spell on this guy because his hitbox is so small. The Fire Spell would actually be better for this, but he's such an easy boss, I'm not going to bother switching out sub-weapons for him. And just like that, he's down for the count. Though, one thing that does bother me is because we fought that guy earlier with like almost no variation in tactics. And we'll see that happen again in a later level. Though it'll be a three-pronged boss fight. Because like the last time we kind of had the setup, it was just the one. Then they added the mummies, and then like, cause we'll see the mummies again in that whatever it was, along with another boss. That won't be till Dracula's castle. Anyway, we're now at the lighthouse. Or at least I think it's a lighthouse. This is where the difficulty game really starts to pick up. I've had runs here where I was doing very fine, no mistakes, and then I would just have a random death and just be like, screw this. So you want to be very careful. If you're very new to this game and unsure like of yourself, there's an axe in this room and you may want to pick that up because we have gargoyles. And these guys are nasty if you don't know what you're doing, because they move like, I guess in like a sine or cosine pattern. There's the axe I was talking about. But yeah, their pattern it's not erratic because it is fixed, but you know, it's very easy to get caught off guard by it. And when you get caught off guard, that often leads to, you know, with these small platforms, being knocked back into the abyss and instant death, which is never fun. Unless you're some kind of masochist, but you know, that's not me, and I hope that's not you. Anyway, I'm able to get through here well enough because I'm familiar with their pattern, but you know, if regular new players probably won't be, so don't feel afraid to like switch out for that axe, because it'll really help out in that section if you're new to the game. Next, we have the Axe Knights making a return from Castlevania 1. Were they in Castlevania 2? I don't think they were, actually. Though they certainly weren't an enemy anyone wanted to see again. In Castlevania 1, I think like 9 hits with the whip to kill. That's just why I was just spamming holy water on them nonstop. But like with Sypha's Thunder Spell, you can easily take them out. So you have more options. The cross can take them out too, but I think it takes a little bit longer for me. So, And these things appear. If you whip, you can't kill them. They're like a permanent obstacle, but if you whip them, they'll freeze for the second you hit them. So I guess if you're not comfortable with like the pattern they're going in, you can kind of manipulate their pattern to wherever you want it to be. So that's something you can keep in mind. In this section, well, the part before also had contra logic, where the bottom of the screen keeps going up and up. But yeah, it's like the screen is collapsing on you, I guess. You know, if you get caught at the bottom, you're dead. So don't get caught at the bottom, because that's not fun. And that's why I like having the lightning orb, because you can just mow through enemies and not have to worry about constantly like whipping them over and over again, which takes time, and time is not really on your side here. And there's the ice book if you want it, or the holy water if you're Trevor. But we're at the end of it. It's not too long. There's another section like this later in the game that's a little bit longer and a little bit more intense. And it's not exactly easy, but it's also in what I consider the hardest level in the game, and probably one of the hardest levels in the entire series. Yeah, it has a bit of a nasty reputation. Anyway, well, normally more gargoyles are supposed to spawn in this room, but they didn't for whatever reason. I'm not going to complain, but you know, hey, anything that goes in my favor. Got another Axe Knight, just like before. Thunder Spell, do the trick. I'm guessing the Thunder Spell does like 3 damage apiece, because 9 hits with the whip. So yeah. So 3 times the power of the whip, that's a lot. That's probably why it annihilates bosses so fast. And if you get multiple hits, that's, you know, if you really aimed it right, a potential of 9 whip hits in one blow. This room can be quite annoying if you are the impatient type. And I imagine most of you who are struggling with this game are. If you die a lot in this room, don't be surprised, because it's pretty much built to punish recklessness. Because you see with these, the fireballs that the bone pillars are emitting, most of the time are probably going to knock you off into the abyss. So just be patient. Don't push it. Don't push yourself. And just, like, if you have Sypha and the Thunder Spell, you can just pick them off like I'm doing, which is what I'd recommend you do. If you don't have it, you could try using the cross. You have to be a bit more meticulous, but it's not impossible. Maybe you could hit these with the axe. I've never actually tried that. Might be an interesting experiment one day. If you're playing with Grant, you're kind of out of luck and you just kind of have to wing it. You'll probably take a lot of damage in that section. Oh, I've seen people get through it with Grant with taking no damage, but I'm good at this game, but I'm not that good. Like, I can't speedrun this game. Oh, I'd love to be able to, but you know, take what you can get. I believe that's an axe there. Yes, it is. If you have no sub-weapons, because like you died in the previous area, you know, it wouldn't be too shabby to pick up. Anyway, we're almost at the end of the level. And almost at the end of this part, actually. So if you're low on health from the previous room, there's a meat, like, right here. So that's nice. It's always nice that they give you a little help before the boss. Because, you know, this game is hard, but, you know, they give you a little bit of help, you know. I mean, this game expects you to take advantage of it. It's definitely not holding your hand or anything, but, I like how this game is set up. It's definitely one of my favorite Castlevanias. Maybe not the favorite, secret, because that belongs to 4, but I'll get into that more in depth if I decide to LP Castlevania 4. Anyway, Frankenstein's dead, and that's all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen.